What's up, Commotion crew? We're here talking about UFC Fight Night. Derrick Lewis, king of the hill when it comes with heavyweight knockouts.
Hey everybody and welcome. This is The Commotion and I'm Roshan Joshi.
I'm Dan Smith.
And today we are talking about UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Oleinik. And we're going to preview UFC 252. So I'm excited about that. We are going to bust out our new locksmith. We are busting out the new locksmith segment.
Yep, we're going to be adding something a little new, kind of something hopefully I can be really successful at, because I'm kind of putting myself out there right now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to helping people make some money.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really cool. Nah, I'm excited as well. I mean, we have seen a track record of you being right, you having your locks from the last few fights that we've had. So I'm really excited to see you you give some picks. I'm going to help out with my thoughts and my picks as well. And we are going to try to cover the spread and see if we can make some money on this stuff. UFC's been having a bunch of great weekends because currently they are the only sports that are running right now.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA is back, but they're on the bubble. The NHL is back too, but that's all very recent. UFC's been kind of top dog for pretty much the whole quarantine.
That is true. I was very excited about this weekend. I love Derrick Lewis, so we're going to go right into that first fight. Derrick Lewis versus Aleksei Oleinik. And it was a good fight. It was a quick fight. It was, you got to see a little bit of everything, so.
Yeah, I mean, you have two opposing styles right here. You have Derrick Lewis, who is your traditional striker. I mean, the guy could punch through a brick wall if he had to. He just has absolute dynamite in his hands. It can come at any minute. Not the most polished of strikers, but what he lacks in technique, he makes up for in just raw power. He's what I call country strong. He's just these dudes that, you know, grew up on a farm out in the Midwest somewhere, and I believe he was down in Texas, but be more specific, but still, just that country strong dude just has that natural raw strength. You see that with Francis Ngannou and, you know, his just natural raw power. And then Aleksei Oleinik on the other side, this is a guy who's given up a little bit of height, given up a lot of weight, and but is much more of your technical ground game fighter. Aleksei Oleinik's kind of claim to fame is submitting people from the bottom. So he's at a disadvantaged position, and he's still submitting people with Ezekiel chokes and all of these different types of things. He submitted one guy with a standing head and arm triangle against the cage. So you kind of have these two opposing forces coming at each other, and you wanted to see which one was going to dominate, because you have to assume Derrick Lewis is going to have the benefit on the feet, with Aleksei Oleinik having the benefit on the ground.
Yeah, and you really saw Oleinik try to work that ground in the first round, and Derrick Lewis's corner was like, "Nah, we're not having that."
I tell you what, I was really impressed with Derrick Lewis's jiu-jitsu, actually.
Yeah, no, he did a good job, man. He did a really good job in transitioning and making sure that he wasn't at a disadvantage.
Yep. Now, Aleksei Oleinik was in really, really good position in the first round with that scarf hold. So that's something, that's big guy jiu-jitsu right there. And that's when I kind of have your head right here, kind of looking at me, and scooped under, grab the inside of your own thigh. The War Master, Josh Barnett, does this a lot in his fights. And you just kind of prop people up. And then what you want to do is you want to lean back and have pretty much a 3-point position, 3 points of contact, where my two heels are on the ground and my kind of chest area is just pinned right on your diaphragm, right in your center mass, and rolling you up into that. And what that does is it compresses the diaphragm so that I can get air out, but you can't get air in. So it's a very slowly developing submission. The other problem with that is it takes a lot of energy out of the attacker trying to hold you up in that position, especially when you have a guy that's as big, as strong as Derrick Lewis.
Oh, you saw Oleinik's energy get sapped when he was trying to rock that arm triangle, man. It was cool. It was a good fight. You kind of you saw a little bit of Street Jesus on Derrick Lewis when he walked out in that second round, man, because he's a big boy and he went up for that flying knee. It didn't connect, but he went right for that flying knee, and then he posted with one hand and then just connected with a big right hand. It was nice.
just sheer mass coming at you. I mean, Derrick Lewis is weighing in at, what was his weight that he weighed in at last night? 265 is what he's weighing in at. That means he's probably walking around. He says multiple times he cuts 20 pounds the week of fight week. So you're looking at a guy that's 285, 290 pounds running at you in a small cage. Just sheer mass. I mean, that's acceleration times speed is, mass. He's whether he connects or not, that hitting you is going to do something to you.
Jeez. No, it was a good knockout. Let's cover the next main event. And I want to go right into next week. I want to go right into 252 and put in our picks.
Absolutely.
It's a very interesting card. So the co-main event was Chris Weidman in middleweight versus Omari Akhmedov. I know I butcher names.
No, it's Omari Akhmedov. Yeah.
I'll take it. Hey.
He's a Dagestani.
He is. You always see him with Khabib. You always see him with that whole entire crew. And he's a bad dude, too. I've seen a lot of his fights. He's just a grinder.
All those Dagestanis, man, they're just and nail on the head grinders. These guys are not flashy. They're not knockout specialists. These are guys that are going to come in and just put in work for 3 rounds or 5 rounds or whatever it needs to be to get the job done. They don't always come out on top. They're not all Khabibs, but this is what I always say to people a lot of times when it comes to me. I may not win every fight, but you'll damn sure know that you've been in a fight when it comes to me. And that's what Dagestanis are like. They might not always win, but you're not coming out unscathed, man.
No, and he was grinding it out for that whole entire fight. You saw that Chris Weidman did have that significant control with the wrestling, but when it was on the when they were on their feet, it was very close in striking. Actually, I kind of inched out Omari a little bit more than I did Weidman, but for on the feet. But once it goes to the ground, you have an all-American all-American caliber wrestler. You have a world-class wrestler in Chris Weidman. And
I actually expected the wrestling to be a little bit more of a point of contention because that's what the Dagestani are known for. They're known for being wrestlers. You're right. I mean, Weidman really, really showcased some really good wrestling, some really, really good position control. But that's also his game. That's what he's known for. His nickname is the All-American. You know what I mean? The dude is an All-American wrestler. And people forget, it's not too long ago, this guy was tops in this division. So he's got that pedigree of knowing how to win fights.
Yeah. It was a little sloppy at the end of the day. A win's a win. He inched it out. And as you said, when you have that pedigree and you've been through it, I was about to say he beat Anderson Silva, but he didn't really beat Anderson Silva.
Yeah, he did. He knocked Anderson Silva clean out.
Didn't Anderson Silva break his leg on Chris Weidman?
That was the second time.
That's
the first time he knocked him out with that
very
forward
true,
left hook.
Very true. You're right. I did forget that.
Yep, the breaking the leg was two.
You know what? That was so traumatic that.
Yep, that was the rematch.
Oh, speaking of rematches, 252 has a very interesting rematch that we're going to go into. So I think this is going to be a good segment or a good segue for us to go right into Locksmith. All right. So we are going into UFC 252, and we are going to go into the preview of those fights and bring out our local locksmith, Dan Smith, to figure out who we think is going to win these fights and put our bets out for it, especially since sports betting is legal in certain parts of the U.S., like our area.
Jersey being one of them. I've been at the sports book all time last year, all the time.
Just collecting, and that's what we're gonna try to do, guys. We're gonna try to help you collect on some of these picks.
Stipe, DC. That is a very, very tough fight to call. So this is the rubber match. This is the third time that these guys are going at it. The first time DC exhibited a lot of his wrestling. And because of that, Stipe was so worried about the takedowns that he had his legs in a little tight and he left himself open so he could get those underhooks, because that's the main thing you want to do. When a wrestler shoots on you, you want to sprawl, get your hips out of the way, and you want to get in underhooks. That's the best defense that you can get. Well, the problem is that when you're in your fighting stance to get those underhooks, you got to drop your guard. So DC was shooting a lot of shots. Stipe was trying to get his underhooks, left himself wide open for that clean overhand kind of right hookish thing. It was very, very tight in the clinch that he caught him with and put Stipe down the first time. The second time, DC decided to just throw hands. And now you have a taller Stipe, who is not a weak man by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, no, bro. He worked him. He worked him from the top. It was just
100%. So anytime that you're just kind of in a boxing match or a kickboxing match, I could say, the taller man, the man with the bigger range, is going to have the advantage. So Stipe took advantage of that and took care of business in the second fight. So now you have round 3. This one to me is a little bit too close to call. I like DC. I'm leaning towards DC because I think that wrestling is the negating factor. And if he uses his wrestling like he did in the first fight, it could leave Stipe wide open for another one of those shots. Or he could just use his wrestling to kind of collect points and win the fight that way. So I'm leaning that way. I don't know if it's quite a lock yet, but I'm leaning DC. The other fight that I like on this is Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley.
Before we go into that, and I actually agree with you on Sean O'Malley, I'm going to give you my pick on this, and I'm actually going the exact opposite with you from you, which is awesome because this is actually one of the first times we're doing the Locksmith on the channel. So I'm actually going with Stipe, man. I think that DC, I think this is going to be like one of his last fights.
It will probably be his last fight.
I don't think he's walking out with the dub, man. I think that Stipe is going to put him down. I just don't see why Stipe would put himself in a position, again, to get knocked out like he did the first time. He learned from it, beat him up the second time. I think he's going to beat him up again a third time using that large frame to kind of take him down.
One thing I'll say about that is you have kind of two different legacies on the line right here.
You do.
Stipe's legacy is arguably the greatest heavyweight in UFC history, right? DC's legacy is arguably the greatest fighter to ever be in the UFC.
I agree with that.
Two different legacies, and you got to weigh those factors in. And honestly, I think fighting to be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time is a little bit more motivation than fighting to be maybe the greatest fighter in your division.
Well, you know what? John Jones got something different to say about that, but I'm going to leave that be.
Yeah, we could do a whole different 3-hour podcast just on that.
No, I'm with you on Sean O'Malley, man. I love that guy. He is like a movement specialist. That's what I love about him. You could see how he moves his body in different ways, and he could land strikes from weird angles. He's quick. He's accurate.
He's really, really tall for that division. He's 5'11". Like I said before, the taller man in a striking match is gonna have the advantage. And like you just said, he's very Conor McGregor-esque in terms of how he picks his shots and the angles, and he's very dynamic in terms of his striking. And it's a lot to kind of fight through. And then you have Marlon Vera, who's a really, really good fighter, a quality fighter. He just came off of a loss to Song Yadong. But before that, he was on a 4 or 5 fight win streak.
The Korean Zombie?
You're talking about a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. So while, the old saying is 90% of fights end up on the ground, and the response to that is, but 100% of fights start on the feet. We're going to see what Sean O'Malley can do against a really, really heavy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Now, Sean O'Malley's no joke on the ground either. He's a purple belt, but still, you're talking about a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist. So I'm really excited for this fight. I'm leaning Sugar Sean on this because I just think that his ability to stop people is going to be very, very hard to combat.
I am agreeing with you. I'm locking Sugar Sean on this, but I also want to keep in mind for anybody that's watching that Sugar Sean O'Malley did break his foot in a fight and was on, I think it was a bottom guard, and all his opponent needed to do was stand up for him to take an L, and that did not happen. So,
so you're locking up Sugar Sean O'Malley?
I am. The only reason I put that disclaimer out there is because he is undefeated technically.
He is.
He should have had a loss, but
he is undefeated.
but I am locking Sugar Sean O'Malley. And the next fight is Junior Dos Santos versus Rozenstruik. That's going to be a good one. Now
we're getting to some meat. Now we're getting to some good fighting right here. So Junior Dos Santos, I feel like the guy's like 48 years old and he's been fighting forever. He's still a fairly young guy. In the grand scheme of things. In the fight game, he's starting to get a little old, but he's a fairly young guy still. But the guy has tons of experience. I mean, you're talking about a former champion in the heavyweight division. The thing is, the guy's been knocked out a lot. He's taken a lot of punishment. His last 2 losses were both knockouts. And then you have Jairzinho Rozenstruik on the other end of it. Until he ran into the absolute buzzsaw that is Francis Ngannou, he was dominating folk, okay? Dominating folk. With the one exception of the Overeem fight, he was getting tuned up in the Overeem fight, but that just goes to show you
still knocked him out.
Type of knockout power that this guy has. I mean, we're talking Derrick Lewis, Francis Ngannou level knockout power. So I still think that Francis Ngannou fight could have gone either way. Whoever just attacked first. It just so happened that Francis Ngannou attacked first. But you're talking about that same level of knockout power. So,
and one thing I do want to agree with you on is, although he displayed that knockout power super late in the Overeem fight, if you think about any of the fights before that, he knocked out Andrei Arlovski first round, 29 seconds. Before that, he knocked out Crowder. First round, 9 seconds. Mm-hmm. Before that, he knocked out Albini, 54 seconds in round 2. So he is knocking people out all day.
You have a guy who is also, I think Rozenstruik is probably going to weigh in at 15 to 20 pounds heavier than Junior Dos Santos. So I have a heavier man who has knockout power, who was on a 9-fight knockout streak, versus an older guy who's weathered some storms. You got to remember, Junior Dos Santos had some absolute battles with Cain Velasquez back in the day. Absolute battles. So you have a guy that's taken a lot of punishment, been in the fight game a long, long time, and has a tendency to not be able to take punches and has a weak chin. So for me, I'm locking Jairzinho Rozenstruik to get the W by knockout in this fight. That is my locksmith. Put it in, lock it up. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, knockout. That's how the fight's going to
end. I love it. Love it. Love it. I'm excited for one more. And this is because this was it had weird context behind it the last time these two faced each other. And this is the light heavyweight fight between Magomed versus Ion. They have very hard last names for me. I have difficulties with Russian last names, but I'm going to try my best. I'm going to say Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cuțelaba.
But listen, you crushed it with Ankalaev. You crushed it with Ankalaev, so.
Yeah, half swish. It was very interesting last time these two guys faced off because last time these guys faced off pre-fight or when Bruce Buffer was announcing them, Ion had walked across and kind of pushed his way through Magomed. They didn't really do anything. It wasn't a big deal. They started to fight early on in the fight, and you saw that Ion was kind of rope-a-doping a little bit. He kind of looked like he was fading in and out, but nothing was really connecting. And then the ref stopped the fight saying standing knockout extremely early in the first round. And my man protested right away. He was like, wait, no, what do you mean? I was just messing with them. I was just playing possum. So big, mistake by the ref for that context. So these two are about to face off again. So I'm very excited to see that. And once again, we have another Dagestani in the house.
Yes. And I'll tell you, man, rope-a-doping the man should have gotten an Oscar for that. I thought he was absolutely in another world out on his feet. I really did.
Did you really? I thought he was rope-a-doping a little bit.
I thought he was, the acting job that he did for that was absolutely, Meryl Streep-esque. Absolutely outstanding. I thought the dude was out on his feet because I was like, oh, total stoppage. And then as soon as it got stopped, he kind of like came to like, yo, what are you doing? I was like, what? So I'm really looking forward to this fight too, because I tell you, man, he had me fooled. Absolutely had me fooled. I would have gotten clean knocked out in that fight because I would have came in hands down looking for a bomb and just gotten dropped.
He's a good-looking guy too, so he might actually you might see him in you might see him next to Stallone or something.
A little novella coming up or something.
I'm going with the Dagestani, man. I'm going with Magomed. He's 13-1. He I like when I see him fight, man. He's another guy that's really good with the movement. He does like spin hook kicks and lands them clean on the head. You see that he's really good with his strikes. He's landing like roundhouse kicks right to the temple. So he knows how to move his body. He understands what he's capable of, and it's always a little bit more than the next guy. So I'm going with Magomed on this one.
I mean, honestly, dude, when you don't know if you have to flip a coin, go with the Dagestani. It's not a bad it's not a bad call. It's not a bad call at all.
Never.
You know? Those guys are absolute monsters. They live in Siberia and they wrestle bears.
They live in Siberia and they wrestle bears.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm gonna pick that guy to win a fight. Absolutely. So yeah, man, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think Ankalaev is gonna end up getting the W again.
Awesome. Well, really looking forward to UFC 252. I'm excited. I'm glad that we got to put in our locks on this one. Make sure to.
So what was your lock again? Just so we reiterate, at the end. I want to both because next week when we do this again, I want to be able to.
Sugar Sean O'Malley. Sugar Sean O'Malley was my lock.
Yes, Sugar Sean. Are we talking decision? Are we talking knockout? Are we talking submission? Got to give me a little bit more than that.
He's knocking him out in the second round, second or third round.
Ooh, in the second round, he says.
I'm saying second or third round. He's knocking him out.
Okay. All right. So he's going to wear him down a little bit, a little touch. It
depends on how he feels. It depends on if he wants to kind of, because his personality. He's a strutter, man. He wants to put on a show. He's got the Tekashi 6ix9ine hair right now. So he's going to put on a show. He's going to go out there. We're going to see what happens. It's going to be dependent. He's either going to knock him out early or he's going to knock him out a little bit later, but he's knocking him out. This
you definitely think it's a knockout.
Decision. No, it's not going to decision.
Okay. And again, mine for people that want to win money, Jairzinho Rozenstruik by knockout over Junior Dos Santos.
Which round?
Done. First round.
One? Okay.
Round.
Yeah, no, okay. That's
first round. Yeah, that fight's not lasting.
Love it. Awesome. Super excited for UFC 252. We have a saying around here, LSN, like, subscribe, notification bell. Make sure to do it and comment below, LSN gang. And don't forget, guys, we have our giveaway. So once you're automatically entered by subscribing to the Commotion channel, every time we drop a video, if you drop a comment on our video, you have another entry. And every time you do that, you get more entries. So you have multiple entries to win these signed Mike Tyson trunks. So take your shot. This was great. Once again, this is The Sports Den. I'm Roshan Joshi.
Dan Smith.
Remember, guys, stay blessed.
Grinding my whole life. Stop that. Grinding my whole life.